Hewing timbers is a pleasant vocation for so many reasons. One, it's great exercise, and, well, maybe that's about the only good thing about it. I've always wanted a brand new broadaxe, but I almost never get new tools. Most of what I have has been beaten to death for the past 100 years, kind of like my boots. I hew more than a few timbers in my line of work. Unfortunately, I've always been forced to use late 19th century axes. I'm not a big fan of the cast steel broadaxes that seem to be everywhere, but they are common and very inexpensive. eBay is positively saturated with these little axes from Slovenia and Bulgaria. They're not terrible, but they are really just toys. Mine is delegated to very light work, like trimming shingles. What I've really wanted for years is the kind of axe my Swedish ancestors over on the Delaware may have used. A quick search online didn't reveal any antiques in a condition that I'd want to use. I decided to see if I could have a new one made to order. I seriously considered 3 makers. First, I checked out this dude with a great YouTube channel. How do you pronounce his name in Swedish?
Nils the Ogre.
That's awesome. Apparently he doesn't take custom work, so maybe I'll get lucky someday. I came across something called the Northman Guild, but their 1-year wait time was a bit much for me. The axe was inexpensive, though, exactly the same cost as my retirement plan. Finally, I went through Etsy and found exactly what I wanted, made by a fella up in Maine, Nicholas Downing. I sent him an email, and he gave me a 1 or 2 month delivery time. Fantastic. I ordered it towards the end of November, hoping it would be a Christmas or birthday present for myself. I had a lot going on and didn't have much time to wait by the mailbox. Now you may be wondering why a fella would get so excited over an axe. Well, that's simple. Some guys sleep with dogs, some men sleep with women, but I'm an American, and I sleep with guns and axes. In mid-January, I got an email notification, and it finally arrived. Beautiful axe delivered by a beautiful lady. Not quite as dramatic as the Lady of the Lake story, but I'll take it. That's a really nice handle. Alright. And this is it. She's pretty heavy. Nice leather cover. Very nice touch. Nice and sharp, ready to go. I could talk for 15 minutes about the absolute beauty of this axe, its sexy curves, and its delightful balance, but that would be pointless, and I'll let it speak for itself. When I was very young, my father defined, somewhat harshly, my entire existence. He says to me, "You were only born to work." And so it has always been since I was about 8 years old. And now, this poor axe will share my fate and join my favorite axe and me in hours of hard labor. Having the axe was great, but not having a log to test it out on was pretty irritating. But for once, I had a bit of luck. Dad went to get some slab wood from an Amish sawmill near Dover where I buy quality white oak logs, and he brought back this log for me and saved me a trip. Thanks, old man. I'm going to hew out a 6x6 from this white oak log using a method based loosely on an article of January 1862 by a British publication called Once a Week. I start by marking out the dimensions with a square and a level, and then I run a chalk line and leave a mark. Damn wet chalk line! With my axe, I cut notches every 1 or 2 feet, standing on top of the log for at least this initial cut. Next, I simply go down the length of the log, splitting off most of the wood between each notch. It's always best to work down the log, never up. The wood fibers tend to go deeper into the log as one goes up, and working down means less relief cuts are needed and less tear out. Once I get close to the line all the way down the log, I'm ready to try out the brand new broadaxe. Ah, the moment of truth. I'm holding the axe all wrong. I'm out of practice. I haven't hewn any timber in over 8 months. Here are the results of my first few minutes with the new axe. It'll take me a few hours to master it, but I can already tell it'll do very good service. A broad axe is meant to be extremely sharp, like a chisel, so it can shave very fine slivers, making the hewing marks disappear. See where my left hand is? That's actually where my right hand should be with an axe with this orientation. I made this mistake for the first 15 minutes, scarring up my middle knuckle pretty good. I could barely move my middle finger for a couple of days after this, making it utterly impossible to drive in New Jersey. One side close to finished. Not so bad. With the first two sides complete, the worst is pretty much over. It means that I only have to take off a 6-inch strip from each side. Pretty easy.
You want it to be with it? This son of a bitch has metric.
Junk. As I was saying, I want my cut within about half an inch of the line. Miss. Miss. That's alright. Cutting through knots requires a lot of patience. I generally stand on top of the log when I'm rough hewing. It usually makes a nice, cleaner cut. I have to be very careful when I'm hewing knots. If I'm too aggressive, I could easily wreck this axe. Like this one I destroyed 10 years back on another ugly knot. I like to sharpen my axes every hour or so. Makes for a better product and easier work. And here we are. I finally learned my lesson, and I'm holding the axe about how I'm supposed to. So how much did this axe cost, you might ask? Well, it was pretty expensive. It is now one of the most expensive tools I have in my kit. It cost me $1,200 altogether. Was it worth it? Yes and no. For me, it'll be worth its weight in gold, and it'll pay for itself pretty quickly. For a casual hipster just playing with axes and posing for pictures, I couldn't recommend this axe. This axe is meant for work. Not only do I have a lot of work to do for other people, I have a barn to rebuild for myself. You know, I bought this log. It was originally a 12-footer. I only needed 8 foot of it, so I have an extra just over 4 foot. Dad wanted to keep it and cut it up for firewood. Sorry, old man, but I've got a better use for it.